trending in sports
with your host, Zach Beamish.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hello and welcome to the CCHL this week. I am
Face
Zach
off the left-hand
Beamish,
side of
and we
Maselli.
have a very
Not in the lineup for tonight.
very full slate of games from last week. So let's get started real fast. Gonna start here with Renfrew taking on Cornwall. Renfrew won this game by a score of 6-3, extending their winning streak to 10 wins in a row. The Colts were off to a fantastic start, however, scoring 3 times in 8.5 minutes, chasing Renfrew starter Nolan Lane. Then the Wolves woke up, had 34 shots in the last 40 minutes, and erased the 3-0 deficit in the second period before taking the game 6-3. Renfrew was led by Matthew Paquin, who had 2 goals, including the tying goal. Jace Letourneau and Andrew Morden both had a goal and an assist, while Dane Carter put up 2 assists. Ethan Smith and Jack Dolan scored the other goals for the Wolves. Renfrew started Nolan Lane, who gave up 3 goals on 8 shots and was pulled just under 12 minutes into the game, for Vyacheslav Gordachuk, who made 25 saves on all 25 shots he faced. Even Montroy had 2 goals for Cornwall in the first period. Braden Bowen had the other one, a power play goal for the Colts. Xander Michelli was chased from the crease himself after the 4th goal against, making 25 saves on 29 shots. Donald Hickey came in relief and made 15 stops on 16 shots. Renfrew now has their first win against Cornwall this season. Moving on over, and Cornwall found a bounce-back victory, defeating the Brockville Braves by a score of 5-2. A game that was closer than you might think from just seeing the score, as Brockville tied the game late in the second period. It went to the third. The Colts found the go-ahead goal midway for the third, and then added in 2 empty netters. Kobe Tallman scored the game-winning goal for the Colts in the third, and also added the first empty netter. Bradley Frazier and Tyler Samodrell registered a goal and an assist each, as Ethan Montroy registered a 3-assist game. Christian Maron opened the scoring for the power play on his 17th of the season. Xander Michelli entered the crease for his 2nd straight start. He made 27 saves for the win. Jesse Lumsden scored in the second period to open the scoring for the Braves. Peter Legostayev scored in the last minute of the period to tie the game at 2. This is Legostayev's first CCHL win, or his first CCHL goal, I should say. Edouard Piche made 22 saves on 25 shots in the game. This was Brockville's 5th straight loss, and Cornwall has won every game versus the Braves this season. Moving on over to Nepean, dropping the game to Smiths Falls. Smiths Falls winning 5-2. The game was close halfway through the second period. From there, Smiths Falls found the gas pedal. They scored twice in the second half of the second period, once more in the third for the win. Nepean only got 3 shots in the third. Trevor Felcher scored twice and had an assist for the Bears. Blake Menard scored his first CCHL goal in the contest. Shaman Stevenson also had 2 assists. Further goal scoring was given from Owen Watson and Matthew Martin Gaudreau. Dawson Labra made 21 saves for the win. Kyle Slingerland had his first goal in a Raiders uniform in the loss. Mario Scalise was the other goal scorer for Nepean. Brady McEwen had 39 saves in an impressive losing effort, as Smiths Falls has won all 3 games against the Raiders this season. Moving quickly along here to Kentville, defeating Pembroke 3-2 in the shootout. Kentville looked to be well on their way to a regulation win. It was 2-1 for the 73s until 6 seconds left in the third, when Sutton Murray managed to find the back of the net for the Lumbercanes. That forced the game to overtime, which solved nothing. In the shootout, Grady Logue scored in the third round for the 73s, putting the game to a close. Eric Sweetapple and Nicholas Esposito scored in regulation time for Kentville. Tyler Melvin also contributed 2 assists. In net, Dax Easter made 28 stops in 65 minutes and was perfect in the shootout. Ryan Pennon had the other Pembroke goal in the game. On top of the game-tying goal, Sutton Murray had an assist as well. Eric Barnard had a 2-assist night, as Kevin Jones left the game in the third period, making 17 stops. Connor Waldron played 15 minutes and 47 seconds, making 10 stops on 11 shots. Kentville has won 2 of 3 versus Pembroke. As we now go over to Hawkesbury, defeating Rockland by a score of 5-0. Rockland found the net late in the period multiple times in the first and second. Hawkesbury, meanwhile, never from the back of the net. I think I missaid it. It's Rockland defeating Hawkesbury 5-0. I believe I missed it earlier. Xavier Laurent and Anthony Hall scored and got an assist in the match for the Nationals. Aiden Dre, Kyle Leonard, and Samuel Dumont also scored. Tristan Felix Tremblay scored 2 assists as well. Benoit Forget was perfect, making 31 saves for his second CCHL shutout. Caleb Chabot was in net for Hawkesbury, making 29 saves in the loss, as the Rockland Nationals took their first win versus Hawkesbury this season. Moving over to Brockville, getting the win over the reigning Bogart Cup champions, the Ottawa Junior Senators, by a score of 3-2. Brockville took the fight there to the reigning champions. The game entered the third period tied at 1. The two teams then exchanged second goals, then Brockville scored the eventual game winner with just under 11 minutes left to go in the third. Ottawa would unleash an onslaught of shots at with an empty net, but Brockville would hold on for the win. Anusha McGunthin scored and had an assist for the Braves in the win. Captain Aiden Carolyn also scored the game winner for the Braves, while Peter Legostayev opened the scoring in the first. Zane Spaniel put in a fantastic performance, stopping 40 of 42 shots for his third win of the season. Ottawa got goals from Brendan Paluzek and William Francisco Panon. Will Mazenko was in the crease for the Junior Senators, making 14 stops on 17 shots in the loss. This was only the 6th win of the season for the Braves, as they broke a 5-game losing streak. The season series between these two teams is now tied at 2. Moving over to Cornwall, defeating Hawkesbury by a score of 3-2 in a shootout. Hawkesbury controlled the first period in terms of goal scoring, putting 2 in the back of the net. Despite being outshot, Cornwall replied with 2 of their own in the second. The goal scoring stopped in the third, and overtime saw nothing in the shootout. Nathan Garnier scored in the first round, the only player that scored in the shootout at all, winning the game for Cornwall. Brennan Boyce and Jacob McClellan were a regulation time goal scorers for the Colts. Dolan Hickey made 35 saves in the game on his way to his 12th win of the season. Aiden Stubbins and Alex Fournier scored for Hawkesbury. Dimitri Pellico stood on his head in the game, making 46 saves on 48 shots in 65 minutes of action. Cornwall has a 2-1 lead on Hawkesbury in the season series. Now over to Sunday. The Junior Senators defeated Nepean by a score of 3-2 in another shootout game. Ottawa got some goal scoring to defeat Nepean, which has been a bit of a rarity for Ottawa this season. They had an early 2-0 lead in the early second period, but Nepean was able to tie up in the middle of the third. Nothing was solved in overtime, where Ottawa actually failed to register a shot in the extra frame, but Nepean couldn't score either. The shootout was scoreless into the 5th round, when Liam Lucas would eventually get one in the net. Ottawa had goal scoring from Felix Belfoy and Conrad Moline in regulation. All-star Connor Shibley had the win, making 29 stops. Nepean captain Josh Reed had a great game, assisting on the first Raiders goal and scoring the second one. The first goal came from the stick of Nicholas Papineau. Brady McEwen had 30 saves on 32 shots, but Nepean has now dropped 4 straight. Ottawa has won the season series 3-2. The nationally ranked Navan Grads defeated Rockland by a score of 8-3. Navan won the game after a massive second period in which they scored 4 goals in 8.5 minutes. They also heavily outshot Rockland 37-28 in the game. Colin Holmes scored 3 times, including twice in 125 seconds for the hat-trick. Gabriel Kretz also had a huge game with 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points. Nicholas Payon and Matthew Roy got 4 assists in the blowout win. Sebby Johnson also notched 2 goals for the Grads. Sean Kingwell scored, and Cristobal Tola had 2 assists. Jaden Nelson had 25 saves for the win. Aiden Dre scored twice and added an assist in the loss. Jacob Chamron had the other goal for the Nationals. Sebastian Rezar was in net for all 8 goals against, making 29 saves in the effort. Rockland had won the first 3 games versus Navan. The season series now 3-1. Smith Falls. Where is it? It doesn't appear like this video got into our system, but that is fine. We'll go over here. The last game of the week, Smith Falls defeating Carleton Place by a score of 6-1. Smith Falls won in a big game there against Carleton Place. The Bears had 2 goals in all 3 periods. outshooting the Canadians 39-24. Assist Falls had a goal scoring from Carlos Goulet, scoring a goal and 3 assists. Owen Watson and Seamus Stevenson had a goal and assist each, and Matthew Demoline had 3 assists. Hunter O'Brien, Jackson Heron, and Lucas Colheim were the other goal scorers. Dawson Labra made 23 saves in a win. Bill Gorgon was the lone goal scorer for Carleton Place. Aiden Fadema made 33 saves on 39 shots in the loss. This Falls has now won 3 in a row. The season series between these two teams is tied at 2. But that is going to do it for the CCHL this week. I have been Zach Beamish. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and you join us here next week for another recap.